What dark moment in a kid show threw you off guard? The episode of the Powerpuff Girls, where they go into the future and the entire world was taken over by him. It was just so dark and creepy, and the tone was completely different from the rest of the show. The episode was called Speed Demon. This is the point in the show where you're reminded that, for how camp and goofy him is, he's still that a king devil. He could straight up decimate the girls and conquer the whole world with no effort at all. He just chooses not to because he likes toying with them. Him episodes were always dark as duck for the show. Even the one where he possessed a plushie. Pinocchio, the Disney version. I haven't watched it in over 20 years. There is a scene after the boys have turned into donkeys. The guy grabs one of the donkeys and asks its name. My name's Oliver and I want my mother. This one can still talk. It's not ready yet. Then he throws it into the back of the pen and the poor thing whimpers and cowers into the corner. That scene fucked me up, man. Edit. The donkey/boy was named Alexander and I also fixed some grammar. Same. The whole movie is terrifying. After he leaves Geppetto's house. The irony is that the Disney version is like a walk in the park compared to the original Italian story. That shit will duck up for real. Edit. Italian. That Hey Arnold episode where they got stuck on the train to the steel mill and the kids were sure they were going to hell. After all the coincidences are explained, and the episode pretty much ends, the ghost train to hell makes an appearance in an outro song, sung by the ghost conductor. Also, the episode Helga on the Couch, where it basically shows that her mom is a drunk, her dad is a narcissist, and her sister is the golden child. Meanwhile Helga is a neglected little girl, and has to basically raise herself. I never realized how sad it was as a kid. It took me rewatching it as an adult to see the depth of the show and characters. Helga was always my favorite character and I felt so bad for her. I'm just happy that she got a good ending in the movie. There was an episode of Cat Dog where they went inside out, or one of them inverted or something, so you could see their insides. Freaked me out as a kid. I think Dog went inside himself and out Cat's mouth. But the memory is hazy. That show was strange. That show wasn't strange. That show was fucked. Plenty of moments from Invader Zim. But the one that always seems to stand out is the one where Zim systematically hunts down the kids at his school to steal their organs, so that he'd appear more human. Thing is, Zim is a dumb butt and has no concept of which organs a human should have, or how many, so he just takes whatever he feels like, and ends up a bloated butt of alien flesh filled with multiple human hearts, livers, spleens, etc. C. It's fucked up. P. One particular Courage the Cowardly Dog episode with that Slenderman looking figure, or every Courage the Cowardly Dog episode in general. When Fusilli transformed into a puppet, it's the first thing that comes to mind. That was unsettling. This might not have been dark, but it was downright scary to 2 to 6 year old me. Miss Spider's Sunny Patch Friends was a little kiddie show on Treehouse, about a lady spider and her kids in a garden-like area. Some people might remember the James Charles looking spider who was the villain. There were times when it zoomed in on his face with reddish black backlighting for him plotting something. Again, my memory is blurred of this. This scared the cookies of me every time he went on screen. Damn guy looked like those skull spiders from Ocarina of Time and crappy late 90s early 2000s third animation clowns. Spiderus was horrifying. This is definitely a valid response. Watching Tom and Jerry as a kid. One episode where Tom's love life turns into shit, while Jerry makes fun of him because his love life is great. Right at the end, Tom is sitting on train tracks looking like shit and Jerry sees his girlfriend drive by in a car with another mouse. Jerry then joins Tom on the track. Tom scoots over and you hear a train whistle and a bright light from behind. This was on a kid's show back in the day. Speaking of Tom and Jerry, I remember a scene that takes place at the pearly gates of heaven and a soaking wet bag opens up to reveal 3 kittens inside. The air conditioner scene in the Brave Little Toaster. That scene scared the shit out of me as a little kid, cause I don't like when people yell really bad. Brave Little Toaster was a terrifying movie. The clown is straight out of a nightmare. What about the junkyard when all the cars are singing as they are killed by the giant car smasher? A popular 90s kids show was Rocko's Modern Life. Again, A lot of the episodes were questionable and probably shouldn't have been seen by young, innocent eyes. Particularly bad were the scenes into Heck and Back. Heifer, Rocco's sidekick, chokes at a restaurant called the Choky Chicken and dies. Yes, he dies. He tries to go to heaven, but then ends up in Heck. Heifer then meets Peaches, a parody of Satan. He has udders on his head that secrete milk, which is very confusing and gross. The most unsettling scene of this whole episode is when Peaches tells Heifer that his punishment will be to watch his best friend Rocco starve to death in his carcass. Sounds to us like that was taken straight out of a horror movie. Digimon Season 1 with Tay's backstory. I was a kid back then when it first premiered on Fox. It was the episode where Tay recounts the story of when he took his sister outside to play. He didn't understand why she couldn't be outside and end up regretting it later when she was rushed to the hospital. His sister has a weak immune system, so she was often sick. His mom was so upset she struck Tay on the face. I have never seen an adult hit a kid on TV before. As a kids show, I didn't really expect any real type of problems or consequences. Also Matt and TK's parents splitting up. Also Iz's biological parents dying in a car crash. Also was Aardman's death. Also Maya Tosman killing the Rock and Pumpkin dudes. Also Leoman. Also Beelzeman. Also how Maya Tisman got stabbed through the heart by a divine arrow on screen on a kids show. As a Digimon fan, I've become immune to Leoman dying. It's basically tradition at this point. When Maul straight up conquered an entire king planet to get Obi-Wan's attention, and then straight up murdered his love interest in front of him. The Clone Wars. Oh, it gets better. Maul killing Satine was what finally got Darth Sidious to get up out of his chair, fly out to Mandalore, and personally deal with Maul. Maul's whole reason for doing this was because he had figured out Sidious' whole plan. No, seriously. He was expecting Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker to lead the siege of Mandalore so that he could fight them both and kill Anakin in particular because Maul had figured out that Sidious was going to make Anakin his new apprentice and Maul wanted to deprive Sidious of his prize out of pure spite. The mission to rescue the Chancellor at the beginning of ROTS can thus be seen as Sidious checkmating Maul. Maul's whole story is possibly the best example of fan service done right. That episode of SpongeBob where teleportation goes really wrong at the end. I don't even remember the episode, but just the fucked up ending. Body horror gets me every time. The one where Squidward is in that time traveling elevator was pretty traumatizing to IMHO. Like why is the future like that? Kind of thing. It was just predicting the modern day internet with Google's influence. Everything is Chrome in the future. Apostrophe. I thought of this episode when Microsoft announced the Edge Redesign, that it'd be based on Chromium. When Homer tried to kill himself. Not really a kid show, but it was my childhood. The one where Bart sells his soul to Milhouse was scary to me. The whole Frank Grimes episode was weird and dark, but also one of my favorites. The episode of the original Powerpuff Girls with him. Something about him was so terrifying. Him's voice was absolutely terrifying, along with his intonation. His vibe was pure evil for the sake of evil, unlike most of the other villains who had reasons. Recently been watching through Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Wasn't expecting someone to get a parasite in their brain and be begging their friend to kill them. That show has an odd tone balance. Dumbo, the pink elephant sequence. Pure nightmare fuel. Edit. Thanks for the award. Also, yes, Dumbo's mom being imprisoned was very messed up. My big brother cried a lot for that. The scene when Hez crying to his mom Hoss in a cage thing made me bawl my eyes out as a child and still does. The Last Unicorn. The bull chasing the other unicorns and the sea waves confused, saddened and scared me. To this day I don't clearly remember what was going on, because I never rewatched it, or questioned it. Just gave me sad feelings. That whole movie is so melancholy in a way that sticks with you. It ends with the unicorn saying she's afraid to go back to her sisters because she's the only one of them who has felt human emotions, like regret, and love, and true sorrow. She will be just as alone as she was at the beginning, and the wizard apologizes, saying has basically turned this pure being into something mortal and fallible, and she says, "No, be joyous. Because unicorns are in the world again." I would watch that movie all the time as like a 3 to 5 year old, and I was obsessed with it, even though it genuinely terrified me and probably traumatized me laughing but if it's a pretty dark movie and almost every not really dark, but it kinda threw me off for a minute. There's a scene in The Amazing World of Gumball where he and Darwin are playing hide and seek with Anis. They finish their countdown and get teleported in the middle of a highway where they barely manage to avoid getting hit by a truck. Darwin's soul leaves his body and he pulls it back into himself, and right after that, Gumball just casually says, "Well, at least your soul went up." Gumball episodes could probably fill this whole thread. The scene that gets me in particular is when Gumball is delivering a pizza, which is also a baby, to the pizza parents. The pizza baby falls, and the look on the pizza parents' face is horrifying. And then Darwin the King accidentally slips on the pizza that's on the ground while they're walking away. In one of the later episodes of the show Static Shock, Richie tries to stop a kid from shooting up their school. Richie gets shot during the confusion. Edit. Jesus. This is the most upvotes I've gotten on a post. Static Shock remains my #1 wish for a new series. The time has never been better. Didn't DC confirm they're working on a movie and that the show's creators are helming it? That one scene in Avatar, The Last Airbender, when they are in Lake Laogai and they walk past that room where they are basically brainwashing the chitties, that messed me up. That monster who steals faces when you make an expression is nightmare fuel. That scene in Gravity Falls where Bill Cipher swaps the holes in some guy's face really scared me when I was younger. Couldn't sleep for a few days thinking about it. Or the time when Bill Cipher conjures a decapitated head and then proceeds to burn it. You could even see the head skull and everything. Toy Story 3 where the toys are going through the waste sorting system and end up in the fire pit. God yes. I remember seeing this as an adult with my entire family, and we were all crying, and one of them was like, "It's all the main characters, you know they won't die." And I'm like, that's not the point to me. They were ready to die. They had accepted death and I wasn't okay with that. Watching that movie in the theater was an experience. That scene was so long, and I felt as though I went through all the stages of grief and finally accepted them dying, only to be rescued at the last second. I was in my 20s at the time, but I finally felt like that movie helped me grow up. Infinity Train was already dark, but season 2 had a person ground into a pulp while screaming, while season 3 had a guy disintegrate Raiders of the Lost Ark style. Oh my god, I found an Infinity Train fan in the wild. But in all seriousness, Lake did look like a bad butt in that scene. Infinity Train actually delved into same pretty mature topics as a kids show like divorce and stuff like that. Jesus, though that show was pretty dark, good but dark. That one episode of Madeline where she gets adopted or is convinced her parents want her again, I don't remember, and is just kidnapped by a child labor cult and kept in a basement and forced to make lace. I think that was a movie, Lost in Paris. Even though many people wouldn't call it kid friendly, I feel like Watership Down needs to be put on here as many kids were scarred by this. Seeing the amount of sheer violence made me think twice about rabbits being the cute and cuddly creatures we know. Saw this in a movie theater with my sister and cousins when I was a kid. I was horrified from start to finish and crawled under the seat. My poor granny had no idea that it was not a kids movie. Do not watch The Plague Dogs. Gravity Falls. It had a lot of shit that was way dark for a Disney Channel show, but Widmajadian takes the cake for anything horrifying in a kids show, and I'm including Ramses from Courage the Cowardly Dog. That goddamn walrus from Pingu. Reading Princess Anastasia. The movie is really cute, so I bought the book, which was apparently the actual Romanov history, and the scene where the entire family was shot point blank was when it finally caught up to me. The book is not what I was hoping for. I cried really hard for an hour. I just wasn't ready for this. The firing squad was bad enough. The fact the firing squad didn't work on the ladies because Alexandra and the girls had sewn the family jewels into their clothes and they had to be bayoneted or shot in the head. That was unbelievably brutal. There was an animated Batman episode where the Joker kidnapped Robin and did so much psychotic torture on him that he became a mini Joker. Batman then comes to rescue Robin. and Robin seeing the two makes him completely break down. I don't remember if he then proceeds to shoot the Joker or if he died. What I do remember is Robin hysterically crying mixed with the Joker's laugh, and man, I just turned off the TV after that one. Was some serious shit. Edit. Thank you for clarifying what it was, and in the comments. That was the Batman Beyond movie. Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. Very dark material in that one. It happened in Batman Under the Red Hood as well, when he tortured Jason Todd. When Olaf wants to marry Violet on a series of unfortunate events, and she thinks about what it would be like to wake up next to him every morning, and go to bed with him every night. Incredibly creepy. How has nobody said never ending story? The wolf was ducking terrifying, and I still can't get through the swamp of sadness. The fact I had scrolled this far to find Artax is proof that it is actually the worst one. So bad that most people have suppressed the memory. Fucking Artax, man. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.